Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the NBA Front Office YouTube channel. We told you the offseason was going to get crazy, and already the rumors are flying around the NBA about a lot of different teams, a lot of different players, different draft picks. Gotta love this time of year. We're going to break down all the latest today. Keith Smith back again, checking in from the road. How you doing, man?
Good, man. My wife is tired of me saying, "Hey, what was that tweet?" when my phone goes off because I'm being a responsible driver on this trip. I'm not checking the phone, so she's picking it up and then she's reading me the tweet, and then she's like, "This is the same thing from three different people," and I'm like, "Yep, you're right, it is." So yeah, that was that was a funny moment today. But yeah, man, I'm psyched. We're about halfway home, so probably next time you see me, I'll be back in the friendly home confines in the Smith base in Orlando.
All right. Well, of course, we're all wishing you safe travels out there, and hope that you drive safe, and let the wife deal with the tweets and everything, and all the can confirm such and such player got a
That's it.
qualifying offer or whatever, because everybody has to jump on board with that.
That's
But
exactly what it was. It was that one.
it was
today.
that. I knew it.
Yep.
By the way, guys, before we dive into the meat of everything here, make sure you do subscribe right here to the NBA Front Office YouTube channel, and don't forget to ring that notification bell as well. You guys know things get crazy this time of year. We're going to be right here breaking everything down for you, so make sure you do subscribe. All right, Keith, what do you want to jump into first? A lot of different things happened today. Which way do you want to go?
Yeah, I think this is just for everybody. This is gonna be kind of a grab bag episode.
Yep.
And it's probably gonna be a lot of like this is just little bits of news and where we're gonna react to them. So let's start with those qualifying offers, right? So we've got Town Horton Tucker. That was the one that flowed out from about 14 different people today. I felt like on Twitter, but it all originated because the Lakers put it out themselves. So qualifying offer. All that simply does is that means the Lakers now have the right to match any offer sheet he may sign with another team, or they could still sign him themselves. They can still sign and trade him. He could sign the qualifying offer, which would be a standard 1-year contract. He will not do that. It's only 1.9 million. He's clearly outplayed that kind of value. So the Lakers protecting themselves here with Town Horton Tucker and the QO is what I'll abbreviate it to.
Right. No surprise here that this is the path they're taking. From here, they can match any offer. Do we want to talk about the Arenas provision or the Gilbert Arenas rule at all?
We can.
That is something that
Sure.
pops up here in relation to Taylor Horton Tucker. So the Lakers are at least somewhat protected from losing to, THT was a second round pick. And back in the day, Gilbert Arenas was second round pick. Washington came along, was able to offer him more money than the Golden State Warriors could. They didn't have money under the cap to offer him. And so now there's protections in place because the league didn't want that to happen. The league didn't want a team to draft a good player in the second round, develop that player, and then have to watch that player walk away because they had no mechanism by which to match that because they couldn't do it. So now the first couple of years for the incumbent team get restricted. But what we see happening is kind of a balloon payment type of situation where teams can try to get, in this case, the Lakers, to blink by inflating the final 2 years of that contract if it's a 4-year deal. So this does happen every now and then. I don't know if it'll work in this situation, but it wouldn't surprise me if somebody tried it.
Yeah, the other option that the team has is they can spread that hit evenly. So they would take more on the first year and the second year, but then the third and if there's a fourth year would be the same. So yeah, it wouldn't be surprising if one of the cap space teams was like, we really like him and we're gonna force the Lakers into a difficult position by throwing him an offer sheet and making a match. That's something you could almost see. They don't really have a need for him, but like if the Spurs were like, our cap space isn't going anywhere, let's force the Lakers into a tough position. My guess is because even if in that first year, even if you spread it evenly, it's about the mid-level exception money anyway, they would just match it and move on and have a good player who's a nice depth piece at what should be a reasonable number for him moving forward.
I like that you said Spurs. That is such a Spurs move, just to do something to mess with the Lakers. We all know Greg Popovich has no love lost for the Lakers, but yes, that would be a very Spursy move there. Another guy though, John Collins. I mean, not a surprise that you'd want to protect a talent like this, but there was a point where people were really wondering if the Hawks would let him go, and they were seeing him as perhaps an available player on the free agent market. Have we Has that flipped? Are we at a point now where we feel like the Hawks are going to match any offer?
Yeah, my guess is that he would either match any offer, or they would work out a sign and trade where it was, hey, we're gonna move him, in some kind of deal where we get something back.
Mhm.
We're gonna talk about another piece of Hawks news here in a second, which maybe impacts their decision making here. But yeah, this is a no brainer. He's the best restricted free agent on the market. He's one of the best overall free agents on the market, of course.
Mhm.
This one, 100%, they were always going to do this again, just like Town Horton Tucker. Different situation because Collins isn't arenas limited, so a team can give him that max offer sheet. But with Collins, it's a setup where Collins is to protect you, right? So you can't just watch him walk away with nothing, for you. This way you have the ability to match any offer sheet. The other piece of Hawks news that I was mentioning a little bit there was Onyeka Okongwu. News broke this morning that he had surgery on his right shoulder, a torn labrum, I believe it was, and he's going to miss at least 6 months. So that's going to clearly take him into late January, and that's the first half of next season,
Yeah.
roughly. So if you're the Hawks, you could look at this one in two ways. Either we need John Collins, who kind of became their starting four / backup five throughout the course of their playoff run. Okongwu's playing time was it vacillated, kind of depending on matchups. Or you could look at it as, hey, we're going to trade Collins and really flesh out our depth if they feel that way. There's also already rumors that teams are looking at Danilo Gallinari, so he could be potentially on the move to build out that depth a little bit. But they're going to have to do something behind Clint Capella because you don't want to push him too hard in the regular season, and that was kind of Okongwu's role. And then on Okongwu's side, this is brutal because that summer between your first and second year, although it wasn't going to be exactly a full summer, that's important for skill development and all those
Absolutely.
kind of things. He would have played summer league, probably would have played a heavy load in summer league as well. And now he's not going to get any of that. And we've seen that set guys back in the past. When they're limited and miss that really kind of key development time. A lot of second year players this year struggled
Yeah.
because they didn't have any kind of off season work that they could really dive into. So yeah, it's a blow for the Hawks and for Okongwu.
Yeah, absolutely. That's going to be a tough situation for the Hawks to deal with, and of course, unfortunate for the player as well. A little bit of other news here regarding the Portland Trailblazers. No, not Damian Lillard. I know we've spent a bunch of time talking about Damian Lillard, but rumors floating around right now that the Hawks are saying no, thank you to draft pick offers for CJ McCollum.
Trailblazers.
Oh yes, yeah. Sorry, which team did I
Yeah,
say?
I was there. You said Hawks.
I said
we were
Hawks.
just talking about that.
That's the Blazers. That's the kind of day it's been. It's been, and I love this, but it's been nonstop, one thing after another all day. By the time we get to the end of the day, my head's spinning, and I love it. But the Blazers are not going to take a draft pick offer for CJ McCollum because they're in win now mode with Damian Lillard. And I think there's a little bit more to this than just, hey, they don't want draft picks. I think number one tells you, okay, they are listening to offers for McCollum. They're just saying, look, we don't want future assets. We want things that can help us win right now. And number two, if you're in that kind of a mode, that tells you that the Blazers are building as though they are going to keep Lillard, right? Like if you're going to say, hey, we want to contend right now, we need pieces to help us right now, that to me suggests Damian Lillard probably isn't going anywhere this offseason, or at least that's the current plan for the Blazers.
Yeah, I would say there's somewhere around a 5% chance Damian Lillard is traded this season. We've covered it ad nauseum. There's just no reason for Portland to trade him. They've got him under contract for at least the next 3 seasons. So there's really no reason for them to move him. He kind of almost has no control. But what he's doing is he's putting pressure on them to say, hey, you better start making this team better or I'm going to start really chirping. And I've never done that before. So that kind of, is where that stands. So, yeah, I think, in the end that goes. So, yeah, this makes sense that if they're going to move McCollum, you're not moving them for a bunch of guys who will be ready to win 3 years from now when Lillard absolutely will be saying, I want out. I'm done with this. So, yeah, so that one makes, full sense to me. So, yeah, it's, I think we're probably in a spot there. But speaking of draft picks, we've got the Orlando Magic and Toronto Raptors have both made offers to the Cleveland Cavaliers for the 3rd pick. The Raptors have the 4th pick and then some interesting players. The Magic have the 5th and 8th pick, and again, some interesting players that they could throw in a trade. So that's kind of kind of something to watch there. That's not one of those where you got to pay an exorbitant price because you're only moving up a couple
Hmm.
spots. But that to me says that they have their eyes on, if somebody falls out of Mobley or Suggs or Green. So there's probably somebody specific there. My guess is what we would ultimately see there is that would be a targeted move up. I think most people are expecting Cade Cunningham and Jalen Green to go 1-2,
Yep.
and then they're moving up to get their guy. My guess is for the Raptors, it would be Evan Mobley, and I think for the Magic, it might be Evan Mobley, but I think it's probably Jalen Suggs would be my guess, is that's who they'd be moving up for.
Interesting. I mean, that would certainly shake up the draft if you had that kind of a move. And I wonder if that has any kind of an impact on the rumors that the Cavs want to move Colin Sexton. Like, if they slide back in the draft, like, the thought has been, okay, they're going to move Colin Sexton in order to clear up room for Jalen Green, for Jalen Suggs, for one of these guys that's going to come in and we're going to give the ball to. If that's not who they're targeting anymore, if they're willing to now move back, maybe that changes things. Of course, I think the contract situation of Colin Sexton, with him only having a year left under contract and then he needs to be paid, that is a factor as well. So I'm not saying this completely eliminates
Sure.
that plan or pulls Colin Sexton off the block or anything like that. I just wonder if there is any sort of domino effect here in regards to those negotiations.
Yeah, and we've talked about it with the Cavs in the past, where if they stick right where they are, it's a little bit messy because
Mm-hmm.
does Mobley fit with Jared Allen, who's their five of the future? They've already said that they're going to do everything they can to re-sign him. Does Suggs or Green, if he falls somehow, did they fit with maybe Sexton's not there, but Garland and
Mm-hmm.
Okoro? So it gets a little weird, and so you could move back, pick up additional assets, maybe kind of retool your roster with a slightly better fit and less duplication and overlap. So yeah, that one is interesting to me. And then I think rounding out the draft pick news, or draft news, I should say, Sacramento Kings are shopping number 9. This comes from Kevin O'Connor at the Ringer.
Mm-hmm.
They're shopping number 9 for win now help, and that makes 100% sense to me with the Kings because it's beyond time to win now. I just wrote this for Spot Track. You can go check it out. That it's been, I think, 15 years now since they've made the playoffs. Like it's a decade and a half. It's time to push in and go, as long as you do it in the right way, right? You got to be smart about it. You can't go completely over the top and be silly about it. But yeah, I think it's it's time for them to do this kind of move because they hit the jackpot with talent, or I was going to say Talon Horton Tucker with Tyrese Halliburton last year in the middle of or late lottery. So yeah, you'd love to maybe try to get that luck again. But yeah, if you can move that to get win now help in, yeah, why not?
And this is part of why we've been saying it's the summer of the trade, right? It's not just
Mm-hmm.
the 8 playoff teams from each conference that we're looking at going, okay, each one of these teams wants to get better. No, there's a number of teams that are just outside the playoffs that are saying next year, this is going to be our year. And we know the play-in tournament's going to be a thing that got approved for next year. So they're still
Yep.
looking at it going, hey, even if we're the 10 seed, we've got a shot. Let's build a really good roster right now. And there's not that many players out there in free agency to grab that are going to, be major impact players. So teams are going to trade. And that's why this makes sense that the Kings are now shopping number 9. And it feels like in terms of rumors, it's probably like this every year. But just to me, it feels like there's a lot of picks available this year. And I think that, again, that goes hand in hand with a lot of teams wanting to make that next push next season.
Yeah, it's funny so I just ran through it real quick.
Yeah.
I think realistically, right now as it stands, and this will change, of course, depending on how the offseason goes. We've only got 4 teams that are probably rebuilding going into next season.
That's
Detroit
nuts.
and Orlando in the East,
Mm-hmm.
and Houston and Oklahoma City in the West. Everybody else is some level of title contender, or they've got to get to the postseason because there's a lot of other things at stake. So if you look at like New Orleans or Minnesota, like you're kind of on a ticking clock with Zion and Cat. So you got to kind of start to make something happen. We know Chicago wants to win. We know Cleveland wants to win. So, I'm not saying all those teams are playoff teams or anything, but when you only have 4, that leaves you with 26 teams that are trying to do something. Now, somebody will reposition, somebody will do something where they're kind of breaking things up and go in a different direction. But yeah, I think that leads to why you have so many picks available, and these teams are all trying to swap stuff and reposition themselves and those kind of things. And that's why, teams like Oklahoma City, that's like, hey, I'll eat some bad money, I'll help you do other things. Sam Presti might come out of this thing with another 30 draft picks by the time we're done with the end of this.
I'm telling you, he's gonna figure out some way to combine them all. And at some point, he's going to have every pick in a draft or something. Yep. It's just going to be an Oklahoma City Thunder draft.
That's it, man. It's like Pokemon. You got to catch them all.
That's right. All right, let's finish up with this, Keith. Just a little bit of education piece. It's driving me crazy. I'm seeing it all over the place. And it's perhaps it's because I'm fairly Lakers centric with things, right? But there was a rumor out there that, hey, the Lakers, they could trade for Russell Westbrook. And whether or not you like the trade or not, it's kind of irrelevant, right? That they would sign and trade Taylor Horton-Tucker, sign and trade Dennis Schroeder, and also add in Kyle Kuzma. And I've got so many people on multiple platforms screaming that you cannot do that. You can't attach anything to a player that you're sending out via sign and trade. And I don't know where this comes from, but I've got so many people that are just convinced that this is a fact and this is the way it is, and it's the way it's always been.
Yeah, 100% incorrect. You absolutely can sign and trade a player and send them out. Here's the things. When you sign and trade a player, it has to be a 3-year deal. Only the first year needs to be guaranteed, though. You could do it. Let's think back. Let's go all the way back to when Boston traded Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, and Jason Terry to the Brooklyn Nets. That's a famous trade that delivered the Tatum and Brown picks and all those Nets picks. Then what you had in that trade, as that trade was made, you had coming the other way, Keith Bogans from the Nets was signed and traded to Boston in that deal. And that was because they had to do that to get to the matching salary. He got a pretty good payday in that deal. Basically just to be a trade throw-in because the Celtics had no interest in him. He got traded again later to I think it was Cleveland. I'd have to look, but no one cares about that part. But yeah, 100%. Guys can be signed and traded and added into a trade and all that stuff. There's nothing again, no rules against that, nothing against that at all. There are other things with sign and trades that get kind of tricky and confusing, but as far as the Lakers position would go, let's just use Dennis Schroeder as the example. They could 100% sign and trade him at $20 million, Kuzma's $13 million, and go get themselves a $35 million player. But without a doubt, there's nothing stopping that from happening.
Yeah. Yep. And that's hopefully that puts that to rest. And people can, I don't know if I want to say breathe easier because I've got a lot of Lakers fans that are in a little bit of panic over Russell Westbrook maybe becoming a Los Angeles Lakers. I've got others that are saying it's a great move and all this kind of stuff. Regardless of where you fall on it, though, it can happen in terms of signing and trading somebody and attaching stuff to them. I don't know where this comes from, but it's a myth. You can do that.
Now
that can happen.
Now, when you see someone say that, copy and paste the link to this episode.
Please do.
And say, go to whatever, you can give them the minute mark and go to this and watch it. And there you go.
There you go. All right. Well, hopefully that helps people out a little bit. And other than that, look, we're expecting even more craziness tomorrow and the next day. And then because we've got the draft coming up, we've got free agency. We're going to have trades flying. It's going to be a ton of fun. So again, everybody, make sure you do subscribe and don't forget to turn on those notifications.
And like the video.
Yes. Oh, thank you. And like the video as well. Till next time, everybody, stay safe and see ya.